Hi everybody, Namaste, Lisa A. Romano here, the Breakthrough Life Coach, and today I want to talk about anxiety. And Lord knows I've had anxiety, suffered from anxiety for many years, and was even medicated for a short amount of time. And what truly healed me was figuring out what anxiety was, and tapping into the power that I had to actually overcome anxiety. And recently I've just discovered my my new appreciation for what I call an anxiety. I think of anxiety as a symptom rather than a disorder. So I have clients who say, "Oh, I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder." I'm like, "Oh, okay, but I don't know. Maybe anxiety should really be looked at as a symptom," because what I've discovered is when I break down anxiety, when I think about what the hell anxiety is, it makes sense to me to perceive anxiety as a symptom of something that's much deeper, that's unresolved, that I haven't yet been able to integrate. And then what happens is my logical brain begins to understand my emotional brain, and my emotional brain is able to tap into the logical side of my brain. And I begin to feel less cognitive dissonance. I'm less uneasy because I'm experiencing anxiety. And in fact, I have an appreciation for the fact that my body's actually working perfectly. I mean, if I'm thinking scary thoughts and my brain is designed to react with fight or flight, right? Because if I'm thinking scary thoughts, it's not my brain's fault. The brain can't tell the difference between a perceived fear and a real fear. You know, a make-believe fear or a fear that of anticipation versus an actual real fear that's happening in the now. Your mind is incredibly powerful, but your brain, however, is just subject to the data that your mind is giving it. So I drew a diagram, and I hope that it helps. And I might screw up my lighting here when I use a whiteboard against my lighting, but let's see how it goes. So really important, dear ones, that you begin to understand that your brain is not your mind, okay? Two separate things. We tend to think that the brain and the mind are one. No, we have a brain that is basically a physical thing. It's an organ that receives data and information from the mind, which is ambiguous. The mind is not something that you can touch. The mind is made of the conscious and the subconscious mind, right? And also the higher mind. But I digress. Right now, we're focusing on the two levels for now of the mind, which are the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Now, 95% of the mind is subconscious or unconscious, meaning that so much of what's happening in this mind space, all our mental chatter, is tied to things that happened to us when we were children, that we have forgotten about, that we have repressed and suppressed and denied. So when you think about your subconscious mind, I want you to think about fear, your programs from childhood, trauma, and painful events. They're all part of the subconscious experience, right? And then we have the conscious mind. So you might have a fear about gorillas. Maybe you were scared at a zoo, and so maybe that's a subconscious fear. So every once in a while you'll see a picture of a gorilla, or you'll think about a zoo, and then you'll feel anxiety. But that anxiety that you're consciously aware of will be tied to something that happened that's been stored subconsciously. Remember, everything that has ever happened to you is stored in your body. You can't separate yourself from something that happened to you when you were in utero, or something that happened to you, during your birth, or something that happened to you when you were 1 or 2 or 3. You can't separate yourself, your body, from those painful events. We've got to learn to appreciate our entirety, everything that we are, everything that's happened to us. We have to begin appreciating it in the now. And we've got to stop this idea that what happened to us in the past doesn't matter. It does. As it is below, so shall it be above. Back to anxiety. So you have consciousness. You have your mind, which is made of consciousness and subconsciousness, right? So imagine this is your mind, and remember, the brain is not the mind. So I want you to have a clear understanding that my brain is not my mind. So I call it what if thinking and oh no thinking. Oh no, what if that happens? What if she says that? What if I have that? Oh no, what if that happens? Oh no, what if he said that? Oh no, I wonder what they think about me. Oh no, what if I don't get that job? Oh my God, what if I lose that job? Oh my God, what if it's not a headache? Oh my God, what if I die like my mother? Oh my God, what if I get sick like my father? Blah, 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 blah. So this is all data, right? Now data, brain is receiving data, data, data. Our poor brain is receiving all this data that in most cases is a result of what we heard in our childhoods. So our poor brain is like a computer that's just being, all this data entry is going into the brain, and then the brain responds appropriately. Ding, 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 danger, danger, danger. So we have a fight or flight response that produces adrenaline in our brain, floods our spinal column, and then our body feels this anxiety. And that is basically what happens to us when we're having oh no and what if type thinking. It's scary thoughts. When you're thinking scary thoughts all day, every day, then it's just data entry, data entry, data entry, then response, fight or flight, adrenaline, and then your poor body is flooded with all of these fight or flight type chemicals, and we're just sitting there. We're in the office and we have all this background noise. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if that happens? What if she says this? What if she says that? And our poor bodies are really being primed to fight or flight, to flee or fight, but we do neither. We're just locked into this panic. And then what happens is consciously, what do we end up paying attention to? We end up paying attention to the way that we feel, and we're not paying attention to what happened to create this tension and this anxiety in our body. So I think if we begin to understand what's happened in our body, what we tend to do is we tend to look at the end result. We look at the symptom of anxiety. We say, oh, I'm anxious, or oh, I'm anxious. And we don't stop to think about what were the thoughts or the fears that created the thoughts in my mind, which is not my brain, that created this data entry into my brain that caused my brain to have a fight or flight response, a panic response, that caused my brain to rightfully excrete adrenaline into my brain, into my spinal column, and throughout my body. Our brains are actually responding appropriately to scary thoughts. There's nothing wrong with the brain. If you have what if thinking and oh no thinking, and you have lots of fears and faulty programming, and that is a result of being raised by dysfunctional people, and now you're an adult and you're a codependent, and you constantly seek validation outside of yourself, and you can't be happy, and you rely on other people for your happiness, you're going to have a lot of oh no thinking. And this oh no thinking is going to be all it is. All this, remember, whatever you think it's like data entry, right, into the brain, and the brain responds with fight or flight chemicals, and the chemicals are then flood the blood system. Our heart rate increases. We begin to feel panic. We decrease oxygen to the prefrontal lobe because we're in panic mode. We think we're going to fight or we're going to have to run. So the poor brain is really responding appropriately. So the way we heal this is we can't, like Einstein says, we can't solve a problem with the same level of intelligence that created it. So if unconsciousness created this loop, only a higher state of consciousness can fix this loop. And that's what I'm good at. That's what I do. So I help you and people like you heal from anxiety and dysfunctional childhood programming and move beyond it. That's what my 12-step program is all about. That's what my books are all about. And what I'm going to help you guys do today is I want you to understand that your job is to become super aware of the loop that's happening inside your mind. The next time you feel anxiety, I want you to trace back the thoughts that you had. And even if you can't trace back the thought, I want you to kind of relax into the fact that you're having anxiety and don't judge it, because when you judge the anxiety, all you do is put yourself into a deeper state of fight or flight, which increases the amount of adrenaline and stress response hormones, which only compounds your feelings of anxiety. So what I say in Codependent No More is nudge the judge. I mean, not Codependent No More. Codependent Now What? It's not you, it's your programming. Codependent No More is Melody Beatty's book, and it's freaking fabulous, and I recommend it if you haven't read it. My book is Codependent Now What? It's not you, it's your programming. But only being more aware of this loop can we really heal the problem. So you want to not judge your anxiety, right? So if you feel anxiety attack coming on, don't judge it, dear ones. Just say, okay, there's a reason that my brain is going danger, 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 ding, 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 ding. My brain receives some piece of information or some piece of data, either from my conscious mind or my unconscious mind, that something is a threat to me. Something is threatening me. It could be you fear abandonment. Then the brain is going to consider that danger, 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 bells and whistles, stress hormones. That's not your brain's fault. Your body and your brain are responding appropriately to a dangerous or a threatening thought. So you want to try to connect to a higher state of consciousness. Number one, you want to accept your anxiety. You want to honor your anxiety. You want to say namaste to your anxiety. You want to say namaste to your body and not judge what's happening in your body, okay? So you're going to observe the thoughts. Then you're going to observe the way your brain reacted to the thought. You're going to validate the brain. Say, thank you, brain, you're acting appropriately. I know this sounds hokey pokey, but it works. And you're going to validate your body. And very, very important, you're going to validate the anxiety. If you feel anxiety, there's a reason. And anxiety is a sign from your body that you have experienced a threat. And I know what I did. I went to the doctor and I said, I'm having anxiety about this, that, the other thing. And they medicated me. And no one tried to figure out why I had anxiety. And it took me, I had to go within. What happened to me quickly, what happened to me is when I got diagnosed with the anxiety disorder, I was only about 26 or 27. I had my second child. I found a tumor on her neck 3 weeks after she was born. And the doctors told me it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And actually, the ENT was pregnant. I'll never forget it. She was about 8 months pregnant. And she told me to my face, I was a young mother. And she looked me dead in the eye. She said, don't get too attached to your baby. And bloop, I passed out. So I did not have, I don't know how many people have the coping skills to be able to handle that news. But that's when I began to realize how serious life could be. And I was not prepared to deal with life. I really wasn't. Up until that point in my life, I was playing house with my husband and my 2 kids. And that made life very, very real for me. And, thankfully, what happened was it ended up being a hemangioma, which is a non-cancerous tumor. It's basically, the body just reproduces cells, its own cells. And that part of the body just doesn't shut off. Those cells in the body just don't shut off. It was a vascular tumor. It was a blood vessel tumor. And I told the doctor that. I did research and I said, I don't think it's this. I think it's that. And she laughed at me. She said, you're being hysterical. I want her in for surgery in a couple of days, get the blood work done. And I said, you're not touching her. And which was pretty huge for someone like me because I was very insecure back then. I found another surgeon who did the surgery. And my daughter was fine. But the end result was that was a very traumatic experience for me. And I believe that I suffered from some type of post-traumatic stress from the whole experience. It was awful. She had to be gone through all this testing. And the whole time they presumed that she had cancer. And she was this little 3-week-old, beautiful little baby. Tough. Those of you who've gone through similar experiences know what I'm talking about. But that created a post-traumatic stress response in me. And as a result, that's when my anxiety started to really take me over. And it was absolutely debilitating for many, many years. And what I just shared with you saved my life. And, saved my life when it came to anxiety. And it really began to help me understand the power of my mind and the power of validating myself and honoring my body and the idea of a whole approach to healing and recovery. And I really would love to hear your comments. I'm interested in what you have to say. And I'm a life coach who believes in your potential and believes in my potential. I believe in the potential of every single human being. And it is absolutely not true if you don't believe that you're good enough. You are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what background you come from. I don't care what your mama told you, what your papa told you. I don't care what anybody told you. You are enough. And the power to live an amazing life exists within you, and it exists within me. It exists within every single human being born. It's absolutely impossible for us not to be great because we all come from the same place and we're all extensions of Creator, and that includes you. So dear one, whatever you got going on, I believe that you can heal it, but you got to get on board. You got to get on track. You've got to be consistent in your recovery. You can't be lazy about it. The more effort you put in, the quicker you heal and the better your life becomes. So check out my 12-week breakthrough coaching program. I relaunched September 1st. Hope you get in on that. You can check me out at the link below. And look forward to hearing your comments. So bye, everybody. I bow to the love and light in you. Namaste. How to change core beliefs.
It's a very good question. And my opinion is that we change dysfunctional core beliefs the same way dysfunctional core beliefs were created. The question is, okay, so how were my dysfunctional core beliefs created? And once I say it, a lot of people are going to feel like, oh my God, that sounds so simple. While the theory is simple, the application is not. We change core beliefs through repetition and consistency. The same way our dysfunctional core beliefs were created in the first place. Our core beliefs were created by consistently and repetitiously listening, as well as observing mother and father either ignore us, ignore one another, treat each other codependently, punish one another, overtly or covertly, hit one another, ignore one another, minimize one another, criticize one another. If we were ignored, being ignored as a child, it has been proven, produces the same chemicals inside a child's brain when they are beaten. It is so unnatural to feel ignored by the people that gave birth to you that it corrupts the chakra system. It corrupts the psyche. Being ignored is dysfunctional. Being abused and beaten by your parents is dysfunctional. Not being nurtured lovingly and appreciated, as well as disciplined in a healthy way, is dysfunctional. Worrying about whether or not it was our parents' fault that they ignored us or abused us, that's a separate dynamic. That's a separate process. That's a separate idea. We're trying to address